Welcome to Together Women Rise's featured grant information session. I am Beverly Francis Gibson, CEO of Together Women Rise. This is the second of 3 sessions that we're hosting this week to share with you information about our revamped featured grants program. Since January, our Grants and Partnership Committee, our staff, and our board have been working diligently to review and revise every aspect of our eligibility requirements, our application, reporting requirements, and our evaluation process. In a few minutes, I will share with you what has changed and what will be staying the same. But before I do so, we hope that you will continue to share with us where you're joining us from, and which organizations you represent. Please mute yourselves throughout the presentation and know that we have kept a lot of time allocated to the end of the presentations for question and answer. After I finish my presentation, my colleague Quinn Hayes will walk through our new grants portal, online portal, where you will be able to complete your application, the eligibility questionnaire, submit all of your required documents, and your application in one place. Next slide. So I wanted to just share with you some background about the reason why Together Women Rise decided that it was time for us to make some of these changes. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we started this process in January. Next slide. The reason for this change is that we recognize that donors and foundations were moving a lot of their money to supporting domestic causes, and less money was being allocated or resourced for women and girls. We also recognize that there was reduced corporate support for any efforts for women and girls. We also saw a shift in philanthropic practices to a more equitable and trust-based relationship between funders and grantees. And they're working more hand in hand as partners. And we also saw that over the 20-year history of Together Women Rise, it was time for us to pause and to evaluate our grants program to ensure that we were continuing to have impact, and even more so, greater impact in the areas that we fund and support. Next slide. The goals for the process, next slide, were to simplify the application and selection process while maintaining the rigor that our members and our organization has been known for. Promote equity and narrow the power gap between the grantees and Together Women Rise. Provide meaningful opportunities for our volunteers and for our members to engage. To have clear and transparent criteria so that everyone understands how decisions are being made. We wanted to continue to reflect our values and ensure that we were providing cost-effective and efficient programs for our grantees. Our volunteers and our staff are resources that we do not want to ever take advantage of, and we wanted to ensure that this process recognized their efforts. We also, as I mentioned, have a new grants module that would allow us to use this information to upload all of the information shared by grantees into Salesforce. So instead of having information in multiple places, it will be stored in one place. And last but not least, also includes our financial due diligence and our responsibilities as a funder. Next slide. We at Together Women Rise must balance the goals of 3 key stakeholders. So we want to meet the needs of our grantees, streamline the things that we ask our grantees to submit, and minimize the reporting burden while reviewing and maintaining the rigor of our application process. Our second stakeholder group is our board of directors, who are responsible for fulfilling compliance, legal, and fiduciary responsibilities for our organizations. We want to continue to build the visibility of Together Women Rise to attract new members, donors, and other stakeholders. We also wanted to have good data to measure the impact that Together Women Rise is having in partnership with our grantees. And then last but not least, our chapters, members, and our community. We want to continue to provide rich education opportunities to learn and grow, ensure that our community feels connected with our grantees and our mission, and ensure that our member donations are being used wisely. Next slide. The guiding principles of Together Women Rise for our Featured Grants program remain the same. So Together Women Rise funds organizations and projects that address the varied issues and needs of women and girls in low-income and marginalized countries in the Global South. Organizations and projects funded will create lasting change in the lives of women and girls who are affected. Organizations and projects funded will provide solutions identified by women and girls being served and must actively include their perspectives. Featured grantees must demonstrate the direct impact of the project funded and the methods and ability to monitor and evaluate the projects. And featured grantees are sustainable organizations with multiple funding sources. Our last guiding principle is that we strive to maximize the educational opportunities for our members over the course of a single year. Next slide. Our Featured Grants program details. We award up to 12 featured grants per calendar year. Our featured grant terms will be 2 years. So we will be funding between $35,000 and $50,000 over a 2-year period. And this is coming from direct feedback that we received from grantees. They wanted time to get the work done, and we recognize and appreciate that. Only organizations with budgets of $100,000 and above may apply. Organizations may receive no more than 1 featured grant per a 4-year period. And we will be funding general operating or capacity building to support your organization, as well as special projects. And this means it does not have to be a new project. It could be an existing project or program that you'd like to expand. So I hope this is good news for you. Next slide. Our eligibility requirements. So we encourage you to review this, this information. It's also on our website, but I wanted to just reiterate a few points. Our applicants must be US 501c3 nonprofit organizations or have a fiscal sponsor that is a US 501c3 organization. We do not accept registration documents issued by another country. Applicants must have a minimum of $100,000 operating expenses annually for the most recent fiscal year, unless you're using a fiscal sponsor. And we ask that applicants demonstrate capacity and on-the-ground operations in low-income countries for a minimum of 3 years. Next slide. Applicants must demonstrate fiscally responsible and sustainable practices within their organizations. You have to have an English-speaking website, unless you're using a fiscal sponsor. Applicants must submit all, and I'm going to stress all, of the information requested on the grant application. And you will see in a few minutes when Quinn shows you the grants module, we have refined the required documents quite tremendously. Applicants must provide additional information as deemed necessary for Together Women Rise to make a grant decision. Applicants that have not received a Together Women Rise grants within the past 4 years will be welcome to submit an application next week, actually. Next slide. So what is a fiscal sponsor? A fiscal sponsor is a U.S. nonprofit organization that provides fiduciary oversight, financial management, and other administrative services to help build the capacity of charitable organizations that do not have that 501c3 designation. On our website, we actually have some more details about fiscal sponsors, and there have been a number of questions about how to find fiscal sponsors. And so we've added additional information about this on our website, which Wendy will post in the chat. Next slide. Applicants must provide data regarding the direct impact of their programs that the grant would support. And women must make up the majority leadership of the organization on its board, staff, and volunteers at the time of the application. If the applicant has previously received a RISE grant, they must have satisfied all of our reporting requirements in order to apply for a new grant. Next slide. So here are the changes to the Featured Grants Program. On the left side, here are the things that are staying the same. And on the right side, here are the new requirements. So GPC stands for the Grants and Partnership Committee. They will continue to review and select grantees on strict criteria established by the committee and approved by the board of directors. Interim and final reports will be submitted by all grantees tied to deliverables, and we'll talk about that some more. Funding is in the range of $35,000 to $50,000. And we're going to continue to support grassroots organizations in low-income countries in the global south, focused on global gender equality, with a majority of the leaders being women. The new requirements. So the application has been streamlined to request the most pertinent information needed. We are going to have more frequent check-ins with our grantees. As I mentioned, this is a partnership relationship, and we want to build that relationship with you over time. Interim and final payments will be tied to reporting deliverables, and we may be requiring Zoom site visits prior to the final selection of our grantees. The online grants module will also enable our grantees to upload their application, their required documents. It will allow our Grants and Partnership Committee to score and make their selections in one place and communicate with the grantee and RISE as needed throughout the course of the grant years. Next slide. We will continue to ask for grantee videos, photos, and stories, quotes, because again, this helps our members to understand the impact of your work. We're also asking that you continue to share and link your social media announcements to Together Women Rise and participate in our monthly national webinar. All other education pieces like your country profiles, books, recipes, the geography, and fact sheets, that information will continue to be prepared by our RISE volunteers. And the grantee and Together Women Rise will sign a fund agreement. So the new requirements, we've simplified the communication ask to a few must-haves, and we've made the rest optional. And by that, we mean that there are some things that are optional and they will not impact your grant in any way if you choose not to do those things. Our Grants and Partnership Committee members serve a max of 3 one-year terms, and this allows them to become really familiar with the organizations and also allows more members of Together Women Rise to get involved and learn about the organizations and the countries that we are supporting. Funding will be for 2 years to allow organizations time to do their work. So for example, $50,000 will be funded over 2 years and not 1. Next slide. The things that Together Women Rise will not support. So we will not fund debt reduction, grants to individuals, endowments, lobbying or political activities or parties, election campaigns. We do not fund government entities, building funds or campaigns. We also will not fund organizations that engage in religious or political proselytizing. And this means that we do not fund organizations that engage in exclusionary practices based on religion or a political affiliation, or that attempt to convert the community beneficiaries to a particular religious faith, belief, political party, or belief. Next slide. The timeline. So next Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., you will be welcome to go to our website, and our grant application portal will be open. You will have until October 5th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to submit your application and all of the supporting documentations. And there will be no exceptions. The system actually will not allow you to upload anything after 11:59 p.m. on October 5th. All approved grantees will be notified in January of 2024, and anyone who is not approved will be notified in February of 2024. Next slide. Additional resources can be found on togetherwomenrise.org/grants, or you can contact Quinn Hayes, our Program and Grants Manager, at grants@togetherwomenrise.org. As I said earlier, our staff has spent a lot of time ensuring that the website has the information that you need, answers a lot of the questions, but we know that things come up that we may not have considered, and we want you to know that you can actually reach out to us in response to your questions. At this time, I will pause and turn the floor over to my colleague, Quinn Hayes. And then we'll open it up for questions after.
Good evening, everyone. What I'm going to do now is walk you through the grants module. So I will be covering our eligibility questionnaire, the grant application, and how to upload your documents. And then after I walk through the entire process, we'll be able to answer your questions at the end of that. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'll walk you through. Just a moment. So on September the 5th at 9 a.m. on our website, once you go to our website, you'll be able to find a link for our eligibility questionnaire, and that'll be the first process. So once you go to our website, you will be taken to our portal for the grants module, and the eligibility will be the first part. So just to give you an example of what the grants portal will look like. You'll be taken into a portal that'll be created just for you that will look like this. And the first part will be an eligibility questionnaire. And that's what I'm showing you right now. So I'll walk you through that process, and then we'll come back to the actual application portal. And I'll show you how you'll get your emails, and you'll be told everything that you will need to know throughout the process. So the first step is your eligibility questionnaire, which is what we're looking at right now. So I'm going to put in my name, my last name, my email address, phone number, which includes country codes. So you can put that in there, and then the name of your organization. Once you're into the second part of it, it will ask you a series of questions that your organization will need to either agree, disagree, or affirm at the end. So for instance, the first question is your organization working to improve gender equality in the community that you serve. For my organization, I agree. The organization can provide evidence of its history within the community it serves and the experience of its leadership and field staff within the community. I agree. The organization is financially stable. This is demonstrated by an upward trajectory of funding and expenses over 3 or more years, as well as a minimum of 75% program ratio. So again, RISE will make allowances for those that are impacted by COVID as well. So I agree. Women make up the majority of my organization on the board, on our staff, and with its volunteers. I agree. The organization has an IRS tax determination letter confirming its tax exempt status, for 501c3 organizations. I agree. So either your organization will agree or disagree on the eligibility questionnaire regarding each of the questions. So I'm going to go to the next screen for the next last set of questions. The organization has satisfied reporting requirements for all RISE grants if has previously received funding, or the organization needs to have been a previous grantee within 5 years prior to the current application date. So for new grantees or for new applicants, if that doesn't apply to you, then you can put non-applicable, which is here. I'm sorry if you can't see that. So if it doesn't apply to you, you will hit non-applicable. The organization has not received a grant from Together Women Rise or Dining for Women in the past 5 years. Proposals from previous grantees will involve a different region. So if you have received previous funding from us, but you haven't received some within 5 years, then you may be able to, again, extend a pre-existing program, but you will also have to have either be in a different region, a different country, a different model, or a different project. So I agree. The organization does not engage in religious proselytizing. That is, the organization does not engage in exclusionary practices based on religion or an attempt to convert to the community beneficiaries to a particular religious faith. Again, I agree. The next question, grant funding will not be used for debt reduction, individuals, endowments, and so forth. So rather your organization would be utilizing funding for that purpose. You can agree or disagree. And the last question is, the organization works to improve gender equality in the impact region. So again, you either agree or disagree. And at the very end, after you attest whether or not these things are true, you will receive a thank you email, a thank you note that will come up that says, thank you for your interest in Together Women Rise Featured Grants Program. Your responses will be evaluated and you will receive an email shortly. So if you are eligible to move forward to submit a full proposal, you will know immediately after your final attesting of that questionnaire. And your email, the email that you will receive, should look similar to this. It will say, thank you for your interest in Together Women Rise Featured Grants Program. Your organization meets all qualifications of our eligibility questionnaire, and you can move forward to then submit a full proposal. So you'll have a link that's available for you to click on that will then take you to the grants portal. If you are ineligible, you will also receive an email like this that will let you know if your organization is ineligible based on your responses to the eligibility questionnaire. The one thing to note in this email is what your email, your username will be, which will be whatever email address you provided in your eligibility questionnaire. But note that there is a slight change to the email address within this email. It now has .rise at the end. So you will need to remember that once you set up your login and password. So your login will be this email with the rise at the end of it. And then you will also create a password. So once you click on the link, you will be prompted to a screen like this that will ask you to create a password. So it isn't case sensitive. Some passwords require that you have an uppercase letter. We do not. So we just ask that you remember what your password is and you would create a password. Once you've created your password, you will go to your grants portal and the home page will look like this. You would sign in to your grants portal utilizing the email address that you provided with that .rise at the end, and then whatever password you utilize to set that up. Once you sign in, you'll go to the bottom right where it says view applications. You will have all of your application links here for your featured grant requests. So I'm going to click on my featured grant requests. This will be your individual portal for each of our applicants. And the first step in this process is to begin your grant application questionnaire. So that's step one. So I'm going to click on where it says complete questionnaire. If you are a grantee, a previous grantee of RISE, your information will automatically pre-populate. So it's just reiterating some of those grant details there on the first screen. And it will ask you a series of questions, information, and you will start your grant proposal here. Please note that you may be able to leave and return. It will continue to save your information for you until it is complete. And I'll show you what your portal looks like when you're at that final stage. But you can come in and out of your portal as long as you submit everything before October the 5th at 11:59 p.m. So I'm going to walk you through some of this right now. So it's going to ask you for your organization information first. You're going to put in everything that we're asking you to fill out. Each of the fields provided needs to be filled out. If it's missing information, you will not be able to proceed to the next screen. So we ask that you input everything that we have here. So your organization's name, when you were funded, your mission, your EIN, your website, and then your organization's mailing address. And if you are in need, or if you will be utilizing a physical sponsor, you would say yes or no here. If I say yes, so I'm going to click yes so you can see that screen. It will take you to the screen asking for your fiscal sponsor. Since I was already here, it will go ahead and have you submit the information for your fiscal sponsor. But because I don't need one, I can just proceed with my own information. So it's asking me for my program details now. So if you're the primary contact, it will ask you again, the information will pre-populate for you. If we don't have some information, you may have to put in a phone number or a new email address or what have you. But now it's asking for your program details. You'll put in your grant request, so either between $35,000 to $50,000, depending on what your program needs are. The purpose of the grant, you'll put a brief description in the box provided. If your organization has previously received a grant fund, then you would put what date you received grant funds from Together Women Rise. And then there's a drop-down box here that you would select what type of grant you're applying for, whether that's a general operating capacity building grant or a project program grant. So I selected general operating and capacity building. Sorry, everyone, it took me right back to the beginning. This is very sensitive. I have a lot of things open, so forgive me. So now it's asking me again for those program details. You'll put in your total operating budget, so your current fiscal year information, your geographic location, either the country or the region where your project will be. Again, just continuing to fill out these fields. For this, we're just looking for a number. So if you describe the composition of your staff and their locations. So if you are serving in several different regions, you would put the number of staff, female, male, and non-binary, and the regions in which they are serving. So the location. So if I have 65 females in Africa, or if I'm serving in Kenya, and then I have another 15 males in Asia, wherever the number for staff and their locations would be in there. And it's just numbers and text. So you would just type all of that in there as well. Describe the composition of the organization's current leadership. Again, you would specify the numbers for each that we're requesting and the region. Again, describe the composition of your organization's current board. You would again just put the numbers in the boxes provided, as you can see there. And then you would go to the next screen. Here it's asking for the contact details. Again, if you're the primary contact of the grant, I'm saying yes. If not, then it will provide you the space to fill out for that secondary contact information. So I'm the primary. I'm going to continue on. So my contact details, as I said previously, it's going to pre-populate because I have an account. And so it has my name, my information, title, email address, phone number, and then that secondary email if you have one. I'm going to move on to the next screen. This is where you would put your secondary contact information. So I'm just going to put this information in here. Program manager. Put the phone number in there, secondary phone number. And as you see, if you do not put something that it does not like, it will give you an error message for you to fix it. And I'm going to go to the next screen. Now you start to get into your application responses where you're going to talk about your organization's history and experience in terms of promoting and supporting gender equality. You will note that each of these questions that the 10 questions that we're about to go through, all have its own word limits. So be very intentional and specific with regards to these. And as you type in, it will give you a counter. So I'm just going to type some words in here and move on to the next field. And then again, you would just continue to answer each of the questions that are provided with your responses. And you'll see the counter change for you. What problems and needs you're addressing. So again, you're just going through to answer all the questions that are provided. What outcomes of this work have been done through this grant, creating lasting impact, and so forth. Again, you'll see that the word limit is there for you, and make sure you're paying attention to that because they do change. We'll just put some text in here. Again, reading the question, looking at the word limit, and addressing each of those questions. This is around sustainability. Again, you see that the word limit is getting shorter. So we're only asking for 100 words or less for these two questions. So again, just being mindful of the question and your answers and the word limits. So now I'm at the end. I'm going back to the portal. And now part two, step two, is where I would do my final review, and I'm attesting that everything that I provided is true. This is also where I will upload everything. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see all the requirements that we're asking of you. So your current 990, your previous 990, your current budget, your previous annual budget. The budget narrative is optional for you to upload. We are no longer requiring an audit. So you can disregard that right now. So what I'm going to show you is how to upload each of your documents. So you're going to click on each of these, and it will provide an upload button. So this particular document I've already uploaded. I will note that once you upload a document, there is not a way for you to delete it. If you accidentally upload the wrong document just out of human error, it's fine. You can send me an email and I can open that up. But once it's uploaded and you've submitted it, it's submitted. And so I'm going to go back so you can see how to upload your document, so I can take you through that process. Also note the status will change. So that first document of my current 990 is now complete, whereas the rest of them are open or optional for that one, for the budget narrative. So you're going to click again on the document. I'm going to go where it says upload the file. I'm going to pick the file that I need to upload. Once it's uploaded, you'll get a green check that it was uploaded successfully. You'll exit out. And then you're going to hit the submit button. It's very important that after you get the green check marks, you exit out of that, you scroll down to the left, and you'll see the submit button. That is how your documents are submitted. And that's how you get the confirmation of, are you sure that you want to submit this? I'm going to hit submit. And again, this is how your statuses change in order to get you to the next step of the process. So now I'm just going to quickly go through all of these so I can continue on in the process to show you additional things. So again, that's complete. I'm just going to quickly go in here and upload the rest of these requirements. Again, upload the file. Green check. And I'm going to go to my submit button. I appreciate everyone's patience as I upload all these documents so I can move to the next part of the training for you. And again, the budget narrative is optional, so I'm going to skip that and just go to my last document to upload. So there is a select all button here as well, so that you can view all of your requirements. Now I get to see the status of them. Complete, I still have 2 more open. So you have to provide a physical sponsor confirmation letter and a physical sponsor agreement. So those are both here. So I'm going to go to those, which is a letter of support from your fiscal sponsor, if you have a fiscal sponsor. Again, I'm going to upload that. I'm going to submit. Submit. And I have one more, which is a written agreement of the applying organization and the fiscal sponsor. So I'm going to upload that agreement as well. If you, again, are utilizing a fiscal sponsor. This should be the last one. Now let me just double check. All of my statuses should be completed. So I'm going to go back to our home screen. You can also hit the back button as well, I do believe. I just wanted to make sure that I got out of it and went back in. And now this is what I want you to note. Now you see that under your questionnaire is complete, we just went through step 2, where we did all of our required documents, which is at the bottom. Once all of your required documents are complete, they all have a complete status, everything has been uploaded. Now you should see a finalize button. That button wasn't there before. After all of your requirements are uploaded, that finalize button will be there. Once you hit the finalize button, it should generate an automatic download for you of your full application with all the uploads. So it's providing you with one PDF of your downloaded content. So I am just going to save this wherever you need to save this. It's saying this PC. So I'm going to save it here. One thing to note for that part is that depending on what browser you're using, we're recommending that you use Chrome. Chrome has changed their, you should probably be able to see this on my screen. Chrome, where you used to download files, it would go to the bottom left of your screen. Now in Chrome, there's a little arrow. Can you see my browser? If somebody can give me a thumbs up, there's a little like bracket with a down arrow. That's where your download is now. They've changed that. So we recommend, it's the easiest way. Of course, you can use Edge, Firefox, any browser, but we don't know what your browser experience will be and where that little icon for you to download will go. And so you see here now that since we finalized our document, the finalize button has gone away. It says now your application packet has been finalized and downloaded. And now that it's awaiting, sorry, you guys, this is in my way, awaiting your certification. So your certification now is, I'm going to show you what that looks like. So your certification document, give me just a minute. Well, what your certification document looks like. Should look like this. So this is a document that you will need to print out to then upload. And so this document is certifying that the executive director and board of directors has approved the submitting of this grant request and all the information is accurate to your best of knowledge. So again, it's asking for the authorized signature, their name and title of that representative. And if you're utilizing a fiscal sponsor, it is asking you for that information as well. So I'm going to go back to our funding agreement. Sorry, not funding agreement. Please forgive me, your application. And I'm going to hit this download button just to see where the zip file is. So this is all the files that I've uploaded. In my portal. So wherever your browser is going to take you, that's where it has my documents stored. Now I'm going to go back to my portal. And as you can see here, everything has been, packet has been uploaded. And now I'm going to view my requirements. And now the certification is there for you to certify. So you're going to upload and submit. So after you've downloaded your full application, you will then have a new requirement that will be at the bottom, which is your certification page, which I just showed you what that looks like from your representative and fiscal sponsor. So now you're going to open that certification. And it's just like you had done with all the other documents. You're going to upload that certification page now that it's signed. So I'm going to upload my certification. Again, you're going to get the green check that it's been uploaded. Again, left-hand corner, you're going to hit that submit button to ensure that that document is submitted, affirming that everything is true. Now I'm going to go back to my portal. Now that that requirement has been uploaded, now all of my requirements are uploaded. This is the most important part. Now you will see the buttons change at each of your steps and process. Now you're at step 4. So we've just uploaded and submitted our entire signed grant application packet from the PDF download. We've uploaded that certification page with that new requirement. And now step 4, we're at the very end of the process. So that means everything, once you hit this submit button, you cannot return to your application. And again, that has to be, everything has to be, all of your requirements, all of your questionnaire, uploads, everything has to be done before October the 5th, 11:59. So again, you can go back in and out of your portal to answer your questions. But once you get to this step, after all of your requirements are done and submitted, this final submit application packet is you submitting your final, everything is complete and done. You submit that. Once you hit that button, you cannot return back to your portal to enter any more information. At that point, it is going to rise staff to our GPC for evaluation. And so I'm going to hit the magic Wonka chocolate bar, in a sense, the submit application packet. And it's asking me, are you sure you want to submit this application? The application cannot be edited once submitted. So again, this is your chance. If you go to next, it's going to submit it. If you go to cancel, it'll back you back out for you to just rethink over some things, give it one more review if need be. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit next. And you'll get a message. The application was submitted successfully. So you're completely done. And as you can see, everything is complete. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go back to home. And I'm going to go into here just to see what happens. So you see the status was now that you were, when you first started the process, you were eligible to put in a featured grants. Now that you've submitted it, the status has changed to submitted. So this is all you're going to see in your portal. You will not have access to do anything else. And that is all for the grants portal piece. Now we can transition to our Q&A. At this time, I'll stop sharing and answer questions that you guys have in the chat.
Thank you, Quinn. I'm happy to pose a couple of questions that we've had in the chat. And if anyone has others, please add them now. The two questions we've had so far are questions we've had before about the fiscal sponsor. So if they are applying with a fiscal sponsor, do they provide the fiscal sponsor's financial information or their own organizations or both?
You're providing your information, your fiscal information.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answered your question, Jason. And Jeffrey also had a question. So it sounds like his organization was only, US organization was only created this year. Can a fiscal sponsor be used since his organization is so young in the US?
Yes, he can utilize that sponsor, but he has to have an established relationship with that fiscal sponsor for over at least a year.
Great. Any other questions? We are a smaller group now, so I will say if you want to put up your hand or even just unmute yourself and pose your question, I think we would be fine with that, or once again, put it in the chat.
I see Karen with her hand up.
Yeah, Karen Meadow.
I'm geographically incapacitated. I'm not always good about it. What do you really mean by global South countries? Does that include Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza?
So how we define global South is countries in Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, Asia, the Pacific, the Middle East.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Middle East.
Okay, thank you. We're in.
Any other questions?
And again, these questions can also be found again in our Q&A on our website. So.
And I have put the link to our website specifically to the page with all of the grant guidelines for our featured grants in the chat. We encourage you to review that information. Just a reminder, we will share the recording of the presentation and the presentation slides with you probably late in the day Friday. And if you have additional questions after all of that information, you can email grants@togetherwomenrise.org. I do see one other hand up. Barama, am I saying
Yes,
that
I'm
right?
here. Yeah. So my question concerns the majority of the board member of the organization represented being women. So is that eligibility requirements that if you are if you put your number of people you are there, like female or male, maybe if the majority is not women, you will be denied, right?
Yes.
Okay, that means you are not eligible. You are not eligible.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And that's the majority of women in your organization as a whole.
As a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren?
Hi there. I had to leave for a second, so I'm sorry if someone already asked this, but can you give a little bit more clarity about the 100,000 operation management? Is that every year, the last 3 years, we've had to have like our taxes saying that we all had over 100,000 operation?
Beverly, at the time of your application, you would have to be over 100,000 or more.
Just in the bank?
Beverly, in the bank, yes.
Okay, so just in the bank, because my thing is, our foundation is for my daughter who died in a tragic vehicle accident. So it's, I don't make any money, right? So there's no salary.
Yeah, it's not about the salary breakdowns or operational expenses. It's what's your organizational budget balance.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
Jason, do you have another question?
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to get clarity. I was listening to the question that my colleague just posed, and I was curious. You need $100,000 operating budget, or you need 100,000 in the bank at present? There's because those were two questions were asked, and I wasn't
Operating budget at the
sure.
time you apply.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, there is a question in the chat from Matthew about what staff positions would be included as organization leadership. I assume also about that majority of women leadership issue. So what staff positions are considered? All of them, I would assume.
Well, if you have directors or managers, that's different than maybe a receptionist. So leadership positions are usually your higher ranking positions within the organization. It's not everybody.
That answer that for you, Matthew? All right. Isaiah, I'm not sure what you mean about can we share contacts? Our contact email is grants@togetherwomenrise.org for any inquiries or questions. Is there some other, maybe I'm not misunderstanding? Isaiah, can you unmute yourself and clarify, or is that sufficient, the email address we provided? I'm not sure Isaiah can hear. Any other questions at this time?
Jason, you have another question?
Sorry, one last one. I don't know if this is a challenge with other folks on this call, but we operate in South Africa. One of the things that you said is that you like to do grant making Zoom calls before. We can certainly do that, but South Africa has power outages up to 12 hours a day, every day. And so before we go through this, like, would there be, like, if we got to that point where you were actually doing that, is there flexibility and understanding around some of my colleagues literally might not be able to connect? Okay.
Of course, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it would
Okay.
be scheduled in advance. And if your colleagues couldn't attend, we would take who we could. Or if, say, we had it scheduled for today and there's an outage and you can't attend, you just need to notify us.
Okay, that's, yeah, because, okay, thank you.
Great. All right. Beverly and Quinn, that seems to be all the questions.
Yeah, so we will be sending out the recording. We will send the FAQ, which is again on our website. We encourage you to look at all of the questions. Reach out to Grants at Together Women Rise if you have any questions as you start the process. But I think you'll be pleased to see that our questions are not things that you probably cannot answer. They're probably questions that you're answering for other funders or just to share information about your organization. And so we look forward to starting this new relationship with all of you. And please reach out to us if you have additional questions. But thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. If any of your team missed out, don't forget that we're doing this again tomorrow at 10 a.m. So if you still need to share Eastern time, that's the important part. If you need to share this again, it'll be the same information. Definitely probably might be different questions, but please know that we'll share the slides and all the information will be shared with you. But if you do need to share, we have one more info session, which is our last one tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
Good night. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.